2 or 3 minutes. So grabbing a water bottle, grabbing whatever else you like for your yoga, do that. And we'll see you real soon. All right. Welcome everyone to Friday Flow. My name is Mark Cormier. I teach with the Bay Club. I also am partnering with a company out of Rome, Italy, called Modus. I've posted some links. If you have any interest in getting some feedback as to where you are in terms of the shapes, eventually Modus will have that technology. So if you're interested in that, it helps them out, helps me out. Just pop on my link, say that you're interested, and eventually that will be happening. So anyway, let's start Friday Flow this afternoon. I'll invite you to bring your hands to your heart, a light press of your thumb against your sternum as we line up each finger, and just starting by watching as our breath flows in and as our breath flows out, arriving here on our yoga mats, ready for an afternoon yoga practice. From this place of just watching your breath, I invite you to shape your breath as you find a long, slow inhalation, matched by a long, slow exhalation. As you breathe in, I'll invite you to find a full body breath, bringing the air to the top of the chest, base of the belly, filling up each side waist, filling up both front and back planes of your body. And as you breathe out, I'll encourage you to add a constriction of the low belly in and up towards the heart to squeeze a little more air out, also providing structural support for a low back in any of these shapes, in any of these sequences. Now moving towards the Ujjayi or ocean breath, a slight constriction of the base of your throat, adding a slight sound and feel to your breath. And as we flow through our practice this afternoon, letting the sound and feel of your Ujjayi breath, your ocean breath, be a focus for your practice, often compared to the sounds of the waves of the ocean as the waves wash in And as the waves recede out. To this Ujjayi breath, this ocean breath, I'll invite you to find Jiva Bandha, tip of the tongue to the hard palate just behind the teeth, often called the tongue loop. And you're trying to keep that tongue to hard palate connection throughout the practice, keeping us from clenching our jaw and grinding our teeth, something that I tend to do when I'm efforting, and I want to avoid that. That doesn't really help in any of the poses. And finally, with your lips closed, adding a slight smile to your face, opening up the front of your throat so your breath has lots of room to circulate, refresh, and revitalize. Keeping all this, I'll invite you to bring your hands by your sides. And let's warm it up a little bit here. As we jump on our toes, let me move back a little bit here so you can adjust the screen. As if your hands are floating on water, hands by our side here, and feet hip width apart as we jump for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Hold those heels high. I'll invite you to bring hands overhead, the palms face in. As we hold the heels high, I'll invite you to spin the palms out, spinning palms back in, spinning palms out. One more time, spinning palms in, spinning palms out, and then lowering the heels, hands by our side. Let's bring hands on hips as we go outer shoulder width apart with our feet. Let's make 2 fists with our hands. We'll bring those fists by our hips, and we'll punch out with the left as we squeeze both fists, and then punch out with the right as we squeeze both fists. And back and forth, we can coordinate that squeezing of the fist with a short, sharp exhalation out through the nose as we find our fire breath. And a couple more each way. On this last one, let's hold as we squeeze, 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 squeeze. Inhaling through center, exhaling, and then holding for a couple of breaths as we squeeze, 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 squeeze. And then back to center, releasing the fists, hands by our side. Let's play the piano here. So if you have a favorite tune, hearing it in your mind as we keep our hands supple, we squeezed out the blood and the prana with those fists, and now inviting the blood and the prana to flow back in. And then hands by our side. Working through a more traditional yoga sequence, I'm going to invite you to tighten your stance. Big toes touch, heels slightly apart. If that's too tippy, feeling free to work a little bit wider. From this place, warming up our shoulders as we inhale the arms up overhead. Exhaling arms by our side. A couple more times like this. Inhaling arms up. Exhaling arms down. Inhaling arms up. Exhaling arms down. Adding a forward fold. Inhaling arms up. On the exhale, swan diving over, leading with the heart. Now rounding the spine as we bring hands onto knees, pushing hands into knees, knees into hands. On the exhale, folding again as we grab the back of our calves and fold a little deeper. Inhaling neutral spine, arms out to the side and then overhead. On the exhale, standing tall. Let's do that 2 more times. Inhaling up. Exhaling, swan diving over. Take a breath to find length as we bring hands onto knees, knees push into hands, hands push into knees. On the exhale, grabbing the back of the calves and tractioning ourselves deeper into the fold. Inhaling arms up and then overhead. On the exhale, standing tall. Let's do that 1 more time. Inhaling up. Exhaling over. Take a breath to find length. On the exhale, folding again. Inhaling, riding the breath up. Exhaling, standing tall. Surya Namaskar A, Sun Salutation A, with or without vinyasa. Inhaling up. Exhaling over.
Take a breath to find length. On the exhale, grabbing the back of the calves as we fold deeper. And then I'll invite you to skip vinyasa on this first one. As we ground down through two palms, we step the left foot back and then the right. Find your down dog and holding for 3 or 4 breaths. As we hold the down dog, I'll invite you to bring your attention to your hands. Lots of space between each finger. And then grounding down between the thumb and the forefinger as we draw the energy up from the floor. Shoulders engaged, either keeping the neck relaxed and the head super, super heavy, or long through all sides of the neck as you look back towards your navel. From down dog, long, smooth breath in. Long, smooth breath out. On the tail end of your breath, bending your knees ever so slightly as you lift the tailbone just a little bit higher. And then looking between the hands as we step our way forward. Take a breath to find length as we bring hands onto knees push into hands push into knees. On the exhale, grabbing the back of the calves as we fold a little bit deeper. Inhaling, arms out to the side and then overhead. On the exhale, standing tall. Let's throw vinyasa into the mix on this second one. Inhaling up. Exhaling over. Take a breath to find length. And then breathing out, we're going to ground down through the hands as we find yoga push-up with or without the knees. Exhaling. Inhaling either into cobra or up dog. And then exhaling back to your down dog and holding. Other options might be a child's pose, all fours position. Always finding that balance between your effort and your ease. Wherever you choose to work, breathing, watching that breath, and enjoying that reflection upon your breath. From down dog, long, smooth breath in. Long, smooth breath out. On the tail end of that breath, bending the knees ever so slightly to lift the tailbone just a little bit higher, looking between the hands and mindfully making your way to the front of your mat. Take a breath to find length when you arrive. On the exhale, catching the back of the calves as we traction ourselves deeper. Inhaling, riding the breath up, arms out to the side and then overhead. On the exhale, standing tall. Surya Namaskar B, let's just do one, and we'll do some extra standing poses this afternoon. We start with our chair pose, knees over toes, hands over head. Exhaling, taking it lower. On the inhale, rising on up, also just a little half back bend at the top. On the exhale, a big swan dive over. Take a breath to find length, and then breathing out, back to down dog as you will, either cycling through vinyasa or just stretching straight back, and I'll let you make that call. Working with your breath, finding your flow, whatever that flow means to you right here, right now. From down dog, flow style, big toes touch, heels slightly apart. Right leg high to the sky, high on the left toes. Without overly disturbing the shoulders, I'll invite you to stack the hips. Now bending that top leg, opening up that hip. And then looking between the hands, bringing that right foot on through, landing it lightly as we spin the back heel down. Finding your balance, hands can always find the hips. And then up and over the head for warrior one. On your next exhale, spinning the palms out, finding low lunge as we spin that back heel up, and then back to down dog as you will, either cycling through yoga push-up, inhaling into the yoga back bend, and then exhaling back to down dog, or skipping all that and just finding your down dog. Second side, big toes touch, heels slightly apart, left leg high to the sky, high on the right toes. Without overly disturbing the shoulders, lifted leg straight as we stack the hips. Now bending that leg, opening up that hip. And then looking between the hands, bringing that left foot on through. Spinning the back heel down. Again, hands can always find the hips as you find your balance. And then stretching those hands high to the sky for warrior one. On your next exhale, spinning the palms out, finding low lunge. And then from low lunge, back to down dog as you will.
either cycling through vinyasa or stretching straight back. Again, finding your flow, following your breath. There's no rush. Letting your body, your movement, and your breath be your metronome. As we hold down dog, I'll invite you to bring your attention to the base of your throat. From that place, listening and feeling as your breath flows in and as your breath flows out. From down dog, bending the knees ever so slightly to lift the tailbone just a little bit higher. And then looking between the hands as you step, or maybe you take a jump front. Take a breath to find length when you arrive. On the exhale, folding. Inhaling, finding your chair pose. Exhaling, taking it lower. Inhaling, rising on up. On the exhale, hands by your side. I'll invite you to bring your hands to your heart. A light press of the thumb against the sternum as we line up each finger. And either hanging out here as your weight gathers in your feet, or adding an isometric engagement as we press the palms together, elbows wide, shoulders involved, a tuck of the tail, a tuck of the chin as we connect with the strength in our center. And then hands by our side. From here, let's bring the feet right together, squeezing inner thighs together. And let's take a side bend to the left. Left hand by left hip. Right hand up and over. And then finding that side bend, holding for a couple of breaths. It's all about the spine. Now letting your next inhale bring you through center. Right hand by right thigh. Left hand up and over. And then squeezing those thighs together as we take a side bend to the right. Again, it's all about the spine. We've taken the hips out of the equation by working this narrow stance to the feet. Inhaling through center. Let's take that side bend to the left and holding for a couple of breaths as we find more space between each rib and breathing into that space. Letting your next inhale bring you through center, and we'll take that side bend to the right. Letting your next inhale bring you through center. Now let's find a clasp with the fingers behind the back, shoulder blades back and down onto rib shelf, open heart, open throat, and then softening the knees as we take a forward fold, and then holding for a couple of breaths as we draw the hands up and over the head, shoulders draw up and back towards the hips as we relax the neck and heavy the head. Now a tuck of the chin as we bring it on up, releasing the clasp of the fingers. You can do this along with me if you choose. Ears over shoulders, shoulders over hips. Ears, shoulders, hips over heels as we stand tall and breathe. From here, let's bring hands under our hips. Let's angle the right toes out just a tad. I don't know if you can see that. If I want to angle the toes out on these balancing poses, it makes my hip feel a little more easeful. Shifting the weight onto that right foot. Let's move towards a tree pose here. We either have our kickstand tree. We park the left heel on right ankle knob. We might find a calf tree. Maybe we reach down to find a thigh tree. If you do find that thigh tree, we'll want the heel to point straight up, the toes to face straight down. We can bring hands back to the hips. I'll invite you to use that left hand to open up that left hip just a tad. From here, either staying right here, or we bring right hand to the heart, maybe the left hand joins. Either keeping hands at heart, or we stretch those hands high for our tree pose. As we hold the tree, I'll invite you to relax those shoulders. High hands become heart hands. Heart hands become hip hands. We can swing this left thigh front. We can release the foot from the thigh, the calf, or the floor. And I'll invite you to lift that left thigh high with the toe pointing down. And then I'll invite you to take the knee, angle it out just a little bit. Again, that makes Many people's hips work best with a little bit of a turnout. Then we can lean a little bit forward. We can lengthen through that leg. Lifting that leg just a little higher. And then let's flex the foot and land a cross step. From here, let's lower our center of balance. So front of the back knee pushes into the back of the front knee. Pretty much we're keeping neutral spine here. We're not leaning forward. We're just dropping our weight down. From here, arms up and over the head, inhaling. And then on the exhale, finding a swan dive as we fold. Take a breath to bring hands onto knees, pushing knees into hands, hands into knees as we lift chin and tail. And then folding and rounding as we catch the back of the calves. Those of you that have the back of the calves, feel free to stay there. If you can ground down, 2 hands on the floor for this next move, you'll get a lot more movement and the pose will feel a little bit better as we circle our hips and inhale out. Now taking those hip circles the other way. Now coming back center, let's carefully unwind the legs as we step that left foot back to find our low lunge. And here we can lose the angle of the front foot. So it's 2 straight feet now. From our low lunge, let's ground back heel down. Say about a 30-degree turn out here. Front knee is bent as we bring hands to our hips for our Warrior One prep. Let me go sideways here. In our Warrior One prep, I'll invite you to go longer in the stance as we shift weight onto the front foot to slide that back foot back. In our Warrior One prep, we want to feel front hip moving back hip moving front. It's not going to be perfect, but you want to feel that energetic action. From here, we can bring hands under our shoulders, relaxing our shoulders. From here, finding a clasp with the fingers behind the head, pressing the head into the hands, open heart, open throat. And then I'll invite you to find a tray in front. From here, straightening the front leg without locking the knee as we draw energy into our center of balance. On the exhale, we circle the hands around as we offer that energy out. And let's do that a few more times. Breathing in and breathing out. Breathing in and breathing out. We got 3 more to go. Breathing in, breathing out. Last 2, breathing in, breathing out. Last 1, breathing in and breathing out and holding. I'll invite you to bring the elbows back, the hands come with. I'll invite you to wiggle those fingers as we keep our hands supple. From here, let's turn Warrior One into Warrior Two. As we bring hands to heart, we open up the hips, we narrow the stance and lengthen our stance. And then finding one long arm, looking out over those front fingers with a steady yet relaxed gaze. From here, painting rainbows, breathing in and breathing out. Breathing in and breathing out. Breathing in and breathing out. Halfway done, breathing in, breathing out. Last 2, breathing in, breathing out. Last 1, breathing in, breathing out and holding. From here, let's transition to the triangle. Thumb and forefinger find crease of hip and base of rib. Deepening that crease as we lengthen those ribs. Keeping a little spring in the knee as we ground that bottom hand down. We can set that top shoulder. We can stretch that hand high to the sky, either looking down to the ground, off to the side, or up to the sky with that mixture of effort and ease. As you hold the triangle with every breath in, breathing energy into your center of balance, 3 fingers below the navel. Every time you breathe out, sending that energy out through both arms, both legs, both ends of the spine, as you make yourself bigger in space. Now exploring that lateral top line. I'll invite you to exhale that top hand front as we turn our heart to the floor. Inhaling, lifting hand high as we spin heart to sky. Exhaling. And inhaling. Exhaling. And inhaling. halfway down. Exhale. And inhale. Exhale. And inhale. Last one. Exhale and hold. As we push into the back foot, we get longer on that top line. And then I'll invite you to have the bottom hand join. Let's take that little twist out of the torso as we breathe 2 hands up. And exhale it. 2 hands up. Exhale it over. 2 hands up. Exhale it over. Halfway down, breathing it up. Exhale it over. Breathing it up. Exhale it over. Last one, breathing it up. Exhale it over and hold as we reach, reach, reach. Again, I'll invite you to wiggle those fingers, keeping our hands supple. From here, moving towards our half moon as hand finds the hip, we can step the back foot in. I'm going to adjust myself in the frame here. You don't have to do that, obviously. And we're going to use our right hand and our right foot as our foundation. So right hand well off to the right, a wider foundation, a more stable foundation. We lift that back leg. We can set the shoulder. We can stretch hand high. Again, either looking down to the ground, off to the side, or up to the sky, with that mixture of effort and ease. Again, as we hold the half moon, with every breath in, finding your center of balance, 3 fingers below the navel. Every time you breathe out, despite the balance challenge, making yourself bigger in space. Coming down with grace and control. As we bring top hand to the hip, we soften the standing leg, back foot low as we find 2 feet on the floor. From that foundation, we can come back to our warrior 2. From here, I'll suggest a big windmill of the arms as we stretch out our shoulders, lifting back heel for low lunge. And from low lunge, back to down dog as you will, either cycling through vinyasa or stretching straight back. Let your breath make the call. From down, from down dog, long, smooth breath in. Long, smooth breath out. Tail into that breath, bending the knees ever so slightly to lift the tailbone a little bit higher, and either stepping or maybe taking a jump front. Take a breath to find length when you arrive. On the exhale, catching the back of the calves as we traction ourselves deeper into the forward fold. On the inhale, stay low. We'll come back to our chair. Exhaling, taking it lower. Inhaling, rising on up, a little half back bend at the top. On the exhale, neutral spine. I'll invite you to bring your hands to your heart. And again, either keeping that light press of the palm as your weight collects in your feet, or adding that isometric engagement as we press the palms together, elbows wide, shoulders engaged, tucking tail and chin as we find that strength of our center. And then hands by our side. From here, let's make 2 fists to the hands and bring the fist just below the navel to our center of balance. On the inhale, we can trace a line from that place through the heart. We can open the palms up to the sky as we lift the head up and breathe out through the mouth. We circle the hands around, making 2 fists. We inhale as we trace a line from belly to heart, opening up 4th and 5th chakra. We press the palms out, exhaling. And let's do that 6 times. Last one. And then hands by our side. So let's bring hands on hips and go a little bit wider with our feet. And we'll soften the knees and we'll lean a little bit forward here. As we bring our hands under our shoulders, or thumbs and fingers rather. And we'll just do some asymmetrical shoulder rolls as we keep supple our ancillary muscles of respiration. Just breathing free and easy, enjoying your breath. And then we'll take those asymmetrical shoulder rolls the other way. And then back to center, hands by our side. So let's go even wider here with our feet. And we're going to do a roll down. We'll do one more breath exercise before we get to that second side here. So we can dip the chin, the shoulders relax, the knees soften, and start to roll ourselves down. You might think of if you ever play with a yo-yo, we're just kind of letting the yo-yo go. We're not going to bring it back up. As we spool it on down. When we get down, all right, excellent, you can see me. I'll invite you to make two fists with the hands as we breathe into our back lungs. On the exhale, releasing the fists as we turn the palms out. Exhaling, let that exhale come out through the mouth. So breathing in through the nose and let it come out through the mouth. Breath in and breath out. 3 more to go. Breathing in, breathing out, breathing in, breathing out. Last one, breathing in, breathing out. And then let's bring hands under our thighs. The chin is tucked. We push into our thighs to roll ourselves up. Lifting the chin tall through the crown as we jump it in thin like a pin. And again, feel free to do this with me. It sounds like a nursery school rhyme. Ears over shoulders, shoulders over hips. Ears, shoulders, hips over heels as we stand tall and breathe. So let's prepare for that balancing standing pose sequence second side as we bring hands under our hips. I'm sure y'all can see this, but I want to angle the left toes out just a tad. Everyone's hips are a little bit different, so some of you may go a big angle out, others just a little. You want to kind of find that place where you don't feel any stress on the outer hip or on the inner thigh. It's kind of a medium place, depends on the shape of your bones. With those toes angled out, we'll move towards our tree second side, shifting weight onto the left foot. We can find our kickstand tree. We rest the heel on top of the ankle knob. We could find our calf tree as we bring the foot onto the calf. Some of y'all may want to reach down and find your thigh tree. Flesh on flesh tends to stick better than flesh on cloth or cloth on cloth. And we can bring our hands back to our hips. We can use that right hand to open up that right hip just a tad. Either keeping yourselves just like this, or we bring hands to heart. Either keeping heart hands or finding high hands as we stretch those hands high. Try to relax those shoulders. High hands can become heart hands. Heart hands can become hip hands. We can swing this thigh front. We can release the thigh, the calf, or the floor as we find this shape here. The toe points down. And then rather than putting the leg straight out, I'll invite you to angle it out just a little bit. And we'll go walk through that leg. 2 or 3 long, smooth breaths in, long, smooth breaths out. Lifting that leg just a little higher. And then flexing the foot as we land. A cross step, nestling the front of the back knee and the back of the front knee. And when we lower our center of balance, we're not leaning forward, we're just dropping ourselves down. From here, arms up and over the head. And then on the exhale, finding that swan dive over. Take a breath to find length as we lift chin and tail, hands find the knees. We push knees into hands, hands into knees. And then we can catch the back of our calves as we traction ourselves deeper. Some of y'all may stay right here. Others of us may find the ground. If you find the ground, your movement's going to be bigger here as we circle those hips. Any of them. And then taking those hip circles the other way. Now coming back center, let's carefully unwind the legs as we find our low lunge. Left foot front, right foot back. In our low lunge, toes face straight ahead now. We've lost the angles. But we are going to angle the back foot as we ground the heel down. It's about 30 degrees back there. Front leg is still bent as we bring hands to hips. And again, let me go Sideways here so you get a better perspective. Finding a length of stance that works for you. So we want to feel some sensation in our thighs, but not so much that you're anxious to come out of the shape. So finding a place that suits you, as always in any of these poses. We can steer our hips front hip moves back hip steers front. It's not going to be perfect, but you want to feel that energetic action as we stretch out some very subtle muscles in our center. From here, we bring hands onto shoulders, reminding our shoulders to relax as we rotate the torso front. From here, finding a clasp of the fingers behind the head. You might walk the fingers one over, so you have that opposite clasp. Pressing the head into the hands, open heart, open throat. And then finding a tray in front. Breathing in as we gather energy into our center of balance. On the exhale as we offer it out. And let's do that a few times. Breathing in and breathing out. Breathing in, breathing out. Halfway done. Breathing in, breathing out. Last two, breathing in, breathing out. Last one coming up, breathing in, breathing out and holding as we take a big breath into our heart. Again, I'll invite you to wiggle those fingers. Why not? Keeping our hands supple. Now turning warrior one into warrior two. As hands find the heart, we open up those hips. We might narrow and lengthen the stance. And then finding one long arm looking out over your front fingers with a steady yet relaxed gaze. From here, painting rainbows. Inhaling and exhaling. Inhaling and exhaling. Inhaling and exhaling. Inhaling. Exhaling. Couple more to go. Breathing in. Breathing out. Breathing in. Last one. Breathing out. Finding your warrior two. And now transitioning to Trikonasana, the triangle. Thumb and forefinger find crease of hip. And base of rib. I'm a little teacup, short and stout. Tip me over and pour me out. Grounding that bottom hand down in an appropriate place. We can set that top shoulder. We can stretch that hand high to the sky. You all stay in the shape. I just want to emphasize that as the diaphragm stretches down towards your center of balance, energy gathers in that place. As you exhale and the diaphragm domes up to the heart, we send that energy out into the universe as we connect to everything that's not us. From here, let's explore that lateral top line as we exhale that hand front, turning our heart to the floor. Inhaling, lifting hand high as we spin heart to the sky. And let's do that a few times. Exhaling. And inhaling. Exhaling. And inhaling. Halfway done. Exhale. And inhale. Exhale. And inhale. Last one. We exhale and hold. Pushing into that back foot. Stretching long through the arm, the leg, the torso, the fingers. And then push us for our sideways. As bottom hand joins, we take that twist out of the torso. We breathe two hands up. And exhale it over. Two hands up. Exhale it over. Breathing it up. Exhale it over. Halfway done. Breathing it up. Exhale it over. Last two. Breathing it up. Exhale it over. Breathing it up. Exhale it over and hold as we reach, wiggling those fingers. And then finding your half moon. As we bring hand to hip, we step the back foot in. Now we take our left hand. And again, a nice wide base is going to be more solid than a narrow base. So suggest left hand well off to the left. But if you did want to challenge your balance and you get better at this shape, maybe you start to move the hand in. Always working your edge. And from our base, from our foundation, finding our float, setting the shoulder, stretching hand high, either looking down to the ground, off to the side, or up to the sky, with that mixture of effort and ease. And here, when we teach the kids, we call this the starfish pose. So strong and steady in your center, breathing into that place. And then long swallow our limbs as we connect to everything else around us. Was that Jimi Hendrix lyric? Reach out and touch the sky, something like that.
From here, coming down with grace and control, hand finds the hip. We bend the standing leg. 2 feet find the floor.
From here, finding your warrior two. And then to stretch out those shoulders, a big windmill of the arms as we find low lunge. And from low lunge, back to down dog as you will. Either cycling through vinyasa or stretching straight back. Again, let your breath make the call. Always finding that balance between your stira, your effort, your sukha, your ease. And those are Sanskrit words. Stira sounds like stirring it up energy. Sukha sounds like sugar. It's your sugary, easeful energy. As you find the sweetness of these shapes, the sweetness of these sequences. So I'm going to adjust the camera down. Let's do a floor set here. Yeah, we'll see. That looks pretty good. All right. From our down dog shape, I'll invite you to find, actually, I want to move this big red thing here. Oops. So from down dog shape, I'll invite you to find your plank pose. So you're lining